All right, let's dive into a legal document that feels more like a national philosophy, the Constitution of Bhutan. This thing is wild. It's not just about governing, it's a modern blueprint designed to protect the very soul of a nation.
So, let's start with a number. 60%. What do you think that is? It's not a tax rate, it's not a poll. This is a promise, written into law. It is the absolute minimum amount of Bhutan's land that must remain covered in forest for all time. And honestly, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
You see, Bhutan's constitution is so much more than a rulebook. It's really a philosophical guide. It takes the nation's core values and hard codes them into law, because it sees them as essential for survival in our modern world. It's basically a declaration of what makes Bhutan, well, Bhutan.
And what's so cool is that these three things, spirituality, culture, and the environment, they aren't some new age corporate mission statement. They've been woven into the fabric of Bhutanese life for centuries. All the Constitution did was take this ancient identity and make it the bedrock of modern law. So let's break down how it works, pillar by pillar.
First up, let's talk about the first pillar, spiritual heritage. This is all laid out in Article 3, and it's where the Constitution gets really specific and fascinating about protecting the nation's spiritual roots.
The people who wrote this made a really smart choice. Instead of declaring a state religion, they used this unique term, spiritual heritage. The fourth king explained back in 2005 that Buddhism is already so deeply a part of life there, making it an official state religion was totally unnecessary. This term acknowledges its role while focusing on universal values like peace and compassion for everyone.
And this chart really breaks it down perfectly. A spiritual heritage is all about having a foundation of shared values that can unite people. But a state religion, well, that can sometimes limit other beliefs and create division. Bhutan's approach is all about unity and guaranteeing that everyone has freedom of religion.
And they put some serious teeth into this. The Constitution makes the king, the Druk Gyalpo, the protector of all religions, not just one. That stops any single group from getting too powerful. And maybe most importantly, it builds a solid wall between religion and politics, making sure spiritual life stays about heritage, not political power. Even how they pick the highest religious leader, the Khenpo, is designed for total integrity. It's a pretty clever system of checks and balances. The senior spiritual masters recommend someone, the king officially appoints them, and then that new leader chooses their own successors. The whole system is designed to make sure that spiritual accomplishment is the only thing that matters. Okay, let's shift gears to pillar number 2, culture, which is covered in Article 4. If spirituality is the nation's moral compass, then culture is seen as the absolute bedrock of its sovereignty and social harmony.
Now, the Constitution makes this really important distinction. It splits culture into two buckets. You've got the tangible stuff, things you can see and touch, like the incredible architecture or the national dress. But then you have the intangible culture, the living, breathing heritage like language, beliefs, and stories passed down through generations. The state is legally required to preserve and protect both.
And get this isn't a passive duty. It's not about just putting stuff in a museum. The Constitution demands action. The government has to actively record traditions so they don't get lost. It also has to guide cultural change to make sure it strengthens Bhutan's identity instead of watering it down.
This quote from the fourth king just nails it. I mean, what's the point of economic progress if you lose who you are in the process? For Bhutan, real development can't come at the cost of its identity. This basically reframes culture from a nice-to-have into a matter of national security.
And that brings us to the third and probably the most famous pillar, the environment, which is enshrined in Article 5. This is where Bhutan legally turns itself into an environmental fortress for the rest of the world.
Just look at these numbers for a second. The sheer scale of this commitment is staggering. Bhutan is already at 72% forest cover, which is the highest in all of Asia, and almost half the entire country is a protected area. As a biodiversity hotspot, Bhutan knew it had something incredibly precious that it had to protect.
So this begs a pretty big question, right? When you have a natural treasure like this, whose job is it to protect it? The government? Some special agency? Who's actually responsible?
Well, Bhutan's answer is nothing short of revolutionary. The responsibility belongs to everyone, every single person, period.
This idea of citizens as trustees, it completely flips the script. The Constitution turns protecting the environment from just a government policy into a fundamental civic duty. It's not a choice. It's a legal obligation for every single citizen to be a caretaker of the land for their kids and their kids' kids.
Now, that doesn't let the government off the hook. While every citizen is a trustee, the government has its own massive responsibilities. It has to make sure development is sustainable and, of course, uphold that golden rule we started with. Keep at least 60% of the country forested, forever. It's seen as the absolute cornerstone of their future.
So, when you pull back and look at the whole picture, you start to see that these three pillars aren't just separate ideas. They're all part of a single, unified strategy for the nation's well-being.
It all fits together perfectly, like a three-legged stool. The spiritual heritage provides the moral compass. The cultural foundation provides the social glue that holds everyone together. And the environmental fortress provides the physical and economic security for the future. Each one needs the other two to work.
At the end of the day, Bhutan didn't just write a set of laws. It created a living blueprint for how to protect its unique identity in a rapidly changing world. It's a proactive defense of the nation's very soul.
And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. What if more countries thought about their founding documents this way? What if constitutions weren't just about rights and laws, but were also designed to protect the very essence of a nation? It's a pretty fascinating thing to consider. Thanks for tuning in.